Ladies and gentlemen, good day, and welcome to IFGL Refractories Limited Q2 FY21 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Kamal Sarda, CEO and CFO, IFGL Refractories Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for joining us on the IFGL Refractories Limited Q2 FY21 earnings conference call. I hope and everyone around you is safe and definitely in a good health. Along with me, we have on call Mr. Rajesh Agarwal, our Company Secretary, and SGA, our Investor Relation Advisor. We have uploaded our results presentation on the stock exchange and our website, and I hope you all have got a chance to go through the same. Let me give a very brief on economy and business. So Q2 witnessed a very strong recovery in business as government eased lockdown restrictions on business operations and movement on people. And this was all across the globe, other than except the last part of the Q2. Our manufacturing facilities continued to operate smoothly during Q2, adhering to the guidelines issued by the respective governments. As you know, steel industry has witnessed one of the sharpest and V-shaped demand recovery. This recovery was led by strong pickup in all the industries, especially the auto and real estate, where the highest amount of steel is consumed. This and various other factors led to, I'm happy to inform you that we have recorded highest ever quarterly EBITDA and PAT in the history of IFGL. I shall now move on to give you a brief on our performance. So let me start with the standalone figures. We recorded highest ever revenue, highest EBITDA, and highest profit at the standalone level on the back of strong demand, increased realization, cost measures taken by the company, and operating leverages benefits. Total income for the Q2 was 167.6 crores as compared to 122.3 crores in Q2 FY20. This was up by 37%. EBITDA for this quarter was 36.4 as compared to 17.8. It's like almost doubled. EBITDA margins expanded by 7.1% to 21.7% as compared to 14.6% in the previous corresponding quarter. PAT was 19.2 crores as compared to 7.6 crores, up by 152%. PAT margins was 11.4% as compared to 6.2% in the corresponding quarter. I give you a brief on the consolidated financial highlights. Our consolidated financials also include our international subsidiaries in the US and Europe, which were impacted by the second wave of COVID, which is still continuing. International markets are showing a considerable sign of improvement as we speak. Nonetheless, we reported highest ever EBITDA and PAT at the console level also. Total console income for this quarter was 248.4 crores as compared to 227.4 crores, up by 9%. Console EBITDA was 41.3 crore as compared to 26.2 crore, up by 58%. Console EBITDA margins were 16.6% as compared to 11.5%. Consolidated PAT is 20.6 crore as compared to 12.5 crore in the corresponding quarter, up by 65%. Consolidated PAT margins were 8.3% as compared to 5.5% in the corresponding quarter. Let me give you brief highlights of the international subsidiaries for this quarter. EI Ceramic, our US subsidiary, Total income was $3.89 million for the quarter. EBITDA was 0.47 and PAT was 0.31. Monocon Group total income was pound 6.76 million. EBITDA was 0.22 million. PAT was 0.12 million. Hoffmann, our German subsidiary, total income was 1.28 million euro. EBITDA near break-even levels and marginal loss at PAT level. I'm happy to tell you that we continue to remain net debt-free. We have a very strong balance sheet and a strong cash flow. Our ongoing capex plans at Kandla and Visakhapatnam remains on track. With the economy now opening up rapidly and showing signs of improvement, our product offerings and strong financial positions, we are well placed to capitalize on the business opportunities in the times to come. This is in brief. I look forward to any question from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and one on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and one. First question is from the line of Ankit Agarwal from Ark Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity and congrats on a great set of numbers, sir. Sir, I have a couple of questions. The higher revenue that we have recorded, so what is the breakup in terms of value and volume?
That I don't have that figure. We don't calculate that way because we have various product ranges. So I don't think we can give you instantly these figures.
But realizations must have improved, right?
Realizations improved on the backdrop of that the rupee has depreciated in the last, I would say, 6 months. So that has also helped us quite a bit.
And similar for sir, the EBITDA margins, what are the key factors there?
As I said, see, one is the overall business which has increased. If you see on the standalone, the total income has increased by 37%.
Right.
That is itself a big increase for us. So that's one. As I said, the cost reduction measures, cost optimization measures taken by the company. We had a soft raw material rate during the last half year, and overall, if you see some of the costs like travel costs, there was hardly any travel.
Right.
A lot of things are factored in the improvement in margins.
So, sir, are these margins sustainable then going forward?
Difficult to say. Let's wait. The costs are going up. The ocean freights are going up significantly. The raw material rates are hardening up. So we will try and see what can be done.
Okay, sir. And
the market looks good.
Right. Okay, sir, one last question, sir. The current PLI schemes which have been announced by the government, is there any benefit for us from that?
No, it is not. It is not for the refractory industry. It's for some specialized field. I'm yet to see the detailed guidelines.
Okay, fine, sir. That's it from me, and thanks a lot.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Arush Oberoi from Victor Delta Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. So I have a couple of questions. So I would like to know that what would the company's total capex at Kandla and Visakhapatnam plant?
Mm-hmm. If you go through have you seen the presentation? It is mentioned there very clearly.
Okay. So what could be the potential revenue opportunities from these expansions?
Difficult to say, but I think let's wait. It will take a bit of a time. So we are yet to see. We cannot really tell you what is the total, but refractory industry you can always factor in 2.5 to 3 times.
Any ballpark numbers like Any percentage
That's
there?
right.
Okay. So another question is that our subsidiaries in US and Europe are not doing well. So can you highlight what exactly are the issues there?
The UK subsidiary was doing okay, reasonably okay, I would say, compared to the corresponding quarter. Margins may have been slightly here and there, but US market in the first quarter was very bad.
Okay.
But the second quarter towards the end and the last month has seen a significant recovery. And I'm sure in the coming quarters, unless government comes out with a specific lockdown separately,
Mm-hmm.
I see that current quarter should be good. We have seen in the month of October, we have gone back to almost normal in EI Ceramics.
Right.
We hope the current quarter and the next quarter or the H2 should be much better than H1.
Okay. And so lastly, what is your outlook on the domestic steel demand in the near term?
It looks very good. Every steel industry, I think you must have seen the H1 results.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're all doing excellent. So I hope they will continue with the same trend. I don't see any reason why they should go down.
Okay.
Prices they have increased. They all are making tons of money.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. That's it from my side. If for any follow-up question, we'll join back in the queue.
Thank you. Next question is from Atul K. from Raul Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Sir, just wanted to know, have the raw material prices softened?
In the first half, yes. But now as we speak, there are signs that it is going up. Plus, what is happening is the ocean freight. There has been significant turbulence.
Okay.
Ocean freight is also hardening up very, very steeply.
Okay. And sir, what kind of impact it's likely to have on our margins going forward?
It is still to be assessed.
Sir, pardon me, I couldn't get your point.
I said it is still to be assessed. We need to understand where it stops.
Okay. Sure. And secondly, sir, are we seeing any demand shift from players who are shifting their requirement to India?
Not yet.
Okay. And are we likely to witness the same going forward? What is your perspective on the same?
Not in our range of products.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next participant is Sanjay Nandi from Ratnabali Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. So just wanted to know from the presentation, like we have been eyeing for a 4% kind of steel growth in the worldwide from 20 to 21. So what kind of refractory growth can we presume if we see our India to grow at 23% kind of growth in the steel sector from 20 to 21? So what kind of refractory growth in the top line thing is possible, sir, from that perspective?
They are almost linked, I would say. If you look at any growth or degrowth in steel will have almost 75% effect of it in the refractory industry.
So can you please guide us, like, so that it can help us in the forward projections purpose?
I don't have total figures of the growth, honestly speaking.
Pardon, sir?
I don't have the total figures of the globe. They are not readily. I think it's about $41 billion in the globe, but I don't know exactly how much is. India is about 10,000 crore market, okay? Roughly around 10,000 crore market.
Right, sir.
So whatever growth we have, of 5% or a 10% growth in steel, we'll have around 75% of that in the refractory industry as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Am I able to make it clear?
And sir, yeah, it's perfect, sir. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, my next question is like in this particular quarter, we could find out like there happened in the margin from the Indian operations. Sir, is it because of our exchange or did we do something improvement in realizations or what exactly been happened, sir? If you can kindly clarify the same, sir.
I think I answered in one of the last questions.
But it would be helpful, sir, if you kindly clarify a bit, sir, like if any kind of product mix or something happened, if possible.
For the sake of everyone, it will be difficult for me to repeat the same thing. Okay, that's I think. So basically, it is the demand of our increase in sales is one of the major factors. Okay, our overall customer demands were very high. As I mentioned, the raw material rates were soft in the quarter two as well as the H1. Our foreign exchange rates, rupee was on a depreciated condition, so that also helped us. Then we had taken a lot of cost optimization measures that helped. I can tell you in that LPG prices were very soft in the first half. It is still very, very similar. But on the other costs, that our travel costs, we hardly had any travel. Everybody was working from home. So that's a net, reduction in cost. So this and then there could be various other small reasons, but these are the major factors.
And sir, one thing is like, can you just give us the sales mix? Like, what percentage do we sell in the like shaped refractories and what percentage do we sell in the unshaped refractories?
We don't calculate that way.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I'll back in a queue, sir.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and one. Next question is from Viraj from SIMPL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity and congratulations for such a good performance in challenging environment. I just have 3-4 specific questions. First is, you talked about the overall market of refractories in India being around 10,000 crore. So what will be the share of, say, Chinese or other imports of the total consumption?
10,000 crore, I think imports will be, if I'm not wrong, imports will be about 1,500 to 1,800 crores.
And, similarly in terms of other unorganized players, so is there any product categories where the large imports are largely concentrated and,
The major import of refractories happen in the magnesia carbon space. That is largely imported. There are Indian companies who are taking a lot of steps to manufacture in India based on the Make in India program. So I'm sure in the coming 1 or 2 years, you will find a lot of shifts from import to domestic market.
Okay. And similarly, in the presentation also you talked about, a lot of tenders below 200 crores. So a lot of PSUs may start looking at sourcing from local markets. So any rough idea you can give, what will be the annual sourcing requirement of the PSU players in terms of refractories and
I don't have that figure.
Okay. Are we seeing any shift yet or that is still yet to play out?
That is happening. In the PSU, all the orders which are coming with the condition that it has to have a 50% value addition in India. So a lot of shifts are happening. There are hardly any orders given on Chinese companies now. Hardly any orders.
Okay. So you already answered on the margin, but what I exactly just want to get a more qualitative perspective is, so if you see our overall operating margin expansion, as you said, there's a good amount of growth as well. But other than that, if you look at the contribution level, it's almost a 500-600 basis points expansion for last couple of quarters. So apart from, if you look at the factors which you outlined, what would be the major factors? Would it cost initiatives, would that be the larger part why you're seeing a change in contribution?
As I said, our sales has increased by 37% by day. Okay, that's a significant increase.
Right, sir.
So that contributes the maximum.
Okay. And the expansion in contribution margin which you talked about, so would FX and loan would be the larger factor there, at the gross margin level, or or, other cost initiatives are also? Just trying to understand, what would be the larger factors there.
Various. I really cannot divide that, but these are the major factors, as I said. All of these are contributing some in a reasonable big way in our margin improvements.
Okay. And just last question, if I can squeeze in. How are you seeing the pricing environment in the industry? So you talked about the overall RM prices hardening now. So, are we able to pass that to the end customers given the kind of profitability and the margins they are kind of making right now? So is the pass through more simpler or easier now than what it used to be earlier? Any perspective you can share on the pricing part?
Every order, every contract is a fixed price contract. There are no price variation clause. Okay. So any price change will happen in the next ordering level. I'm sure every company in the industry will be affected by the price increase or cost increases, and we all will be forced to pass it on. Of course, it's a very, very highly competitive market. Not every cost increase will be passed on. There will be a competition effect to this also. But then, yes, it gets passed on. There are price increases, and even the customer realizes that the prices are going up, and they are also willing to increase the prices.
Okay. Thank you very much for answering.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Next participant is Anurag Patil from Roha Asset Managers. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, what would be our total installed capacity in India and internationally?
I would request you to talk to SGA on this. They have the figures. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, can you broadly just utilization level, can you just share?
I think in India we are operating now at almost, I think, most of the major product line would be about 80-90%. And in overseas companies, we should be at roughly around 50% level.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question is from Alok Sharma from 3M Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This is Anuj Sharma. I have two questions, sir. One is, in the next 3-5 years, where do you see the mix between export and domestic? Just your thoughts.
Pardon? Can you come again, please?
Yeah, in the next 3 to 5 years, what do you think could be the mix between export and domestic revenues?
We don't normally give you these kind of forward-looking statements.
All right.
We target growth, and we'll continue to target that. I don't want to give any figures into it.
But do you think the domestic growth would be stronger? You indicated, but just again confirming the domestic growth would be stronger than export in the next 3-5 years. Does that look a reasonable possibility?
I said domestic market looks very good as of now.
Okay.
And going by the Government of India's steel policy and the growth in that, the domestic market seems to be very, very good.
All right. Okay, thank you. And the second question is, our cash generation has been very strong in the past 2 years. Is there any structural change which has happened in our business model so that our cash generation will be as like the last 2 years, or you think things will revert back to where we are historically? So any structural changes in the business?
No, there are no structural changes. It's just because the margin, the profitability have increased and cash has been generated. And on top of it, we have had strong working capital management policy.
Okay.
That the cash is a result of that factor.
Okay. So just on that, do you think the working capital efficiency will be maintained going forward?
Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Next participant is Sanjay Nandi from Ratnavali Investments. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just a follow-up question. Like you mentioned, like you have a targeted kind of growth Okay, so for the next few years for the refractory industry as a whole. So can you please elaborate like what kind of growth we are predicting vis-a-vis what kind of growth exactly happened historically?
I said, Mr. Nandi, that we do not give any kind of figures into it. As we go by the past, our cumulative growth, and we target that we should be doing better than the past, but we don't give you any kind of figures.
Sir, can you please elaborate like what kind of growth percentage happened in the past also in terms of numbers, if you can throw something?
10 to 11% if you look at the last 6-7 years.
This is, you are talking of the industry as a whole, right, sir?
I'm talking of
the company specific. IFGL, right. So 10% has been the growth in last how many years, sir?
6-7 years if you look at.
In 6-7 years. And we are expecting that thing to be like surpassed in the next coming years, right?
That's our desire.
Oh, no issues, sir. Fine, got your point, sir. Right. I'll come back in a queue, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next participant is Viraj from SIMPL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity again. I just had one query. If I look at the period between FY17 to FY20, we had seen some good moderation in our gross or contribution margins for us, and similar trend was seen in other, industry players as well. So, given the share of repackaging total cost of production for steel, one would think that, it would be quite a discipline in terms of pricing and margin, but that has not really played out. So, has there been any change in the industry, the competitive dynamics or any behavior in the end customer which had led to this moderation?
No, there has been no change. There has been no change as such. Just because India gives an opportunity majorly to performance-based refractories and performance-based contracts, I would say. So each company tends to maximize the benefit which is passed on to the customer as well as give the company higher margins. So that's the only change which happens. I don't
Okay,
think
sir.
Other than that, there is no other change.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I will now hand the conference over to Mr. Sarda for closing remarks.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us in this conference. I hope I've been able to answer to most of your queries. We look forward to your participation in the coming quarters. If you have any queries, you may contact SGA, our investor relations advisor. Thank you. Have a nice day and remain safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of IFGL Refractories Limited, conclude this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.